Hey, it's Rob. Welcome to Everyday Investor, the hottest investment show in the world. That's right, I said it. I don't care who knows it. We all want more time to spend with family and friends. We want time to engage in a purpose greater than ourselves, to have some sort of meaning in life. The challenge is we spend most of our time working to make money in order to live. Let me say that again. We spend our precious time working to make money in order to live. Imagine a life where money could make you money to live in order that we could work less and have more time for the things that matter most. Well, you can. Learn how from everyday people who are making this a reality. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Coming up, Luc Boiron teaches us how money makes money investing in the wholesale strategy.
Wholesaling is basically when I put a property under contract and then I sell the rights to my contract to somebody else. So I'm assigning the contract. Now, that's an assignment. Another type of wholesale, sometimes known as the double close, where you close on the property and then resell it in a short amount of time, sometimes same day.
Everyday Investor is brought to you by ProFunds Mortgages, fixed returns, real security. Clover Properties Rent to Own, invest with a purpose. Sam McDaddy Real Estate, full service brokerage for all your buying, selling, and investing needs.
Hey, it's Rav. Welcome back. Remember, when anyone offers you any type of investment opportunity, you always want to ask 4 questions to start. Number 1, what is the return on investment? 2, when do I get that return along with the money I put in? 3, what is the minimum cash amount needed? And 4, what is the risk, the worst case scenario? I am so excited about this episode. We've never talked about it. We're going to learn from the best. My buddy Luc is on the show, master of the wholesale. What's that, you asked? Let's find out. Luc?
Thanks for having me.
Yes, great having you. Thank you for being on the show. I am just so excited to learn from you. I've been following you and the things that you've done. You've presented me with many opportunities just in the last few months on this whole concept of wholesaling. Before we talk about that, let's talk about the most important things. How are you? How are you doing? Your wife? What's happening personally with Luc these days?
Right now, loving life, loving the freedom that real estate gives me, but working a lot. And that's what I'm working towards freeing up. My wife and I have a dream of spending our winters in the Canary Islands and not working in the business.
And that's what real estate allows us to do, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a tool to be able to do what we want, when we want, with whom we want. It allows us to do something charitable, something benevolent. So we're talking about wholesaling today.
Yep.
And I want to know, how does wholesaling work? And why do you like it so much? And is wholesaling synonymous with assigning? Is it the same thing?
Almost always, especially in Canada.
Okay.
So wholesaling is basically when I put a property under contract and then I sell the rights to my contract to somebody else. So I'm assigning the contract. Now, that's an assignment. Another type of wholesale, sometimes known as the double close, where you close on the property and then resell it in a short amount of time, sometimes same day. I did one recently where I bought the property, had already sold it, but the closing of the sale was 3 days later. So
why would you do that? Because if you close it, there's land transfer tax and legal fees as opposed to just passing the paper. What's the benefit of that second strategy?
So part of it can be the seller may not allow you to assign a contract, for example, but also it's to retain control over the contract. If you got a really good deal, there's a large assignment fee. You're maybe dealing with a buyer that hasn't bought from you before, you might not want to put that large assignment fee at risk. So it's worth the cost of doing that. And actually, I found a way that you can keep both parties from knowing what the assignment fee is doing that. There's a way to prepay land transfer tax so that it doesn't show up on title.
Okay, so what I hear you saying is, generally speaking, the wholesale, synonymous in Canada with the assignment,
Yes.
is Luc buys a property from Jim and has it under contract. And then Rav wants that property. So Luc takes that piece of paper that he has with Jim, gives it to Rav, and now I'm technically buying it from Jim, and Luc was kind of the middleman that passed that over.
Absolutely.
But sometimes it makes sense for Luc to actually purchase the property from Jim and then sell it to Rav for the various reasons that you just mentioned. But most of the time, is it the first scenario, or
Yes.
or do you close?
95% of the time, unless I close on it and then sell it through the MLS.
Okay.
That's less, and that's without renovations. So it's a mix between a wholesale and a flip, but the wholesale is 95% of the time an assignment.
Okay, so without stating the obvious, because there is a lot of work on your part to do
Yes.
this. It's not like, hey, undervalued properties come to me, in my dreams, and I just go and scoop them up. There's a lot of work that you do, and we'll talk about that. But why do you like this? Why do you like the wholesaling strategy?
Part of it is how quickly you get out of the property, how quickly you get your money. And the other part of it is, as much as you have to put the work in to get the property, you don't have to put the work in on the back end. And I came from this, I was flipping. And that's what I did after law. I started flipping houses. And I got to the point where I had 7 flips going on at the same time, 7 renovations.
Yeah.
And I was losing hair. And I said, I like my hair.
Yes, I like your hair too.
Thank
I
you.
wish I had your hair. Yes,
Yeah.
a long time ago I did have your hair.
Okay.
And now it's all of a sudden transitioned from the head to the back of the shoulders, but that's a different topic for a different time.
Day.
Yes.
I don't know if I want to hear about that
No,
later either.
okay.
I had 7 renovations going on at the same time, and I got a great deal. A seller called. It was a great opportunity, and I couldn't do anything but buy it.
Yeah.
But then I said, what am I going to do with this? I can't handle managing all of the contractors and everything I was already doing. And I found someone else that wanted the property. I assigned it to them, and that was my first assignment. And actually one of my largest assignment fees, but it was my first assignment because I was able to find someone that wanted it, and I didn't want to do it anymore.
I'm fortunate enough to get these opportunities come across my desk from you, and so thank you for showing me that kind of stuff. And again, these don't just come naturally. What are you doing to be able to find properties that are so undervalued? I mean, obviously it's all marketing, but I'm saying talk about the energy, the time, and the money that it takes to be able to find these undervalued properties. And who do they come from? Who is the seller that you're helping get out of a challenging situation?
Absolutely, and that's the part I love about it, the helping. But I'll go to the marketing. What I do is I do outbound marketing. There's a lot of direct marketing where you can go knock on the doors and talk to people directly. I do a lot of outbound marketing. That's everything from Google AdWords, search engine optimization, flyering, Kijiji ads, Facebook ads. I do a broad array of marketing.
Saying, hey, I want to help you get out of your situation.
Most of the sellers, even if they need help, they don't want to look at it as being saved. What they're looking for is, I can buy your house, I can close quickly, you don't have to do any repairs, you don't need to pay any realtor commissions.
No open houses, no fixing. If you have a little hoarding going on, no problem. That's my
Absolutely.
favorite.
Yes.
All that kind of stuff.
If you've inherited the house, if it's a divorce, if it's a hoarder situation, we can take care of it. So
Okay.
we market to people that we can make the sale process easy for them, and they're selling to us. Because especially when I started doing this, I was flipping all of the houses. So I was buying these to renovate and flip, and now I would say I'm doing still a few flips, but the majority is now switching to
But the process was still the same. Whether
Absolutely.
you're flipping or whether you're wholesaling, that initial strategy to buy them undervalued, exactly the same. Okay, we're going to look at some numbers, go into a little more detail when we come back. Love having you on the show. Love having Luc on the show. Don't go anywhere. Everyday Investor continues in a moment.
Everyday Investor is brought to you by ProFunds Mortgages, fixed returns, real security. Clover Properties Rent to Own. Invest with a purpose. Sam McDaddy Real Estate, full service brokerage for all your buying, selling, and investing needs.
Hey, it's Rav, we're back. I'm so excited about this show. We're learning how money makes us money, investing in the wholesale strategy. We're learning the whole kit and caboodle from my good friend Luc. Luc, it's fantastic having you on the show because I'm learning. I've never done a show on the assignment / wholesale. I love that you are a veteran flipper and have decided to say, man, this is too much. Money's a tool. And I'm not enjoying time with my wife and being able to do benevolent type things. And so I want to share the wealth, so to speak, with others. So you take a property, you buy it under value, and then you take that piece of paper and you give it to someone like Rav, who also gets it under value from you, and then I can go do whatever I want with it. I can sell it, I can flip it, I can hold it, renovate and hold it, all that kind of good stuff. So thank you for teaching me this. How do you, understand you're marketing, and you always talk about the fact that you're helping people without them necessarily feeling like they are a charity. So what is the motivation then for the seller to give such a discount?
It's a wide range, but they're all situations that you would understand. Hoarders are afraid of their neighbors walking through their house and seeing how they live. And most of the time, hoarders do understand their house is not in good shape.
That's a great point.
I've had people with 12 cats, and they're afraid that if a realtor is showing the house, a cat might get out and get hit by a car. So
Wow.
to them, it's worth selling it to someone who's not going to be doing
That's
a bunch
amazing.
of showings.
These are things that the common man wouldn't even think about because those animals to the seller are their everything. That's their
Absolutely.
family. And so they put it for sale. Some a realtor opens the door. They're not going to cage those 12 cats, and so one could run out. Yeah, okay, keep going.
So that's just a wild thing. But I've had sellers where it's like my adult child won't move out. I want to sell the house so they don't have a choice, and I'm going to move somewhere smaller. Just ridiculous things like that. But we've had situations too. A lot of our sellers don't have money for repairs. And like a lot of Canadians, they live paycheck to paycheck. So we've given mortgages to our sellers. A 2-month closing, we give them a mortgage. And one situation I can think of, they owned it outright. We gave them a $45,000 mortgage. They were able to use that to pay some hospice care bills for the father, to pay for moving costs, and to pay a deposit on the next property they were going to purchase at a lower price point because they own this one outright.
So I'm not sure I 100% understand. So we're in the for-profit business.
Yes.
You are giving them a mortgage, and then that mortgage is repaid once you've acquired the property.
Yes. So
but
it's
they get
the
money up
deposit.
front to do the things, to take care of the things that they need to take care of now.
Exactly. So most deposits are held by the realtor in trust. How does the seller get that money? Well, they don't. They get it at closing. In this case, by securing it on the property, they're able to use it now and help them move on to the next property when they didn't have
You are
the
so
free money
smart.
to rub together.
Yes, and so where did you learn this? I mean, there's all sorts of ways to assign and to wholesale, but the way you're doing it, I love it. So is this just on your own? Do you steal this from different wholesalers across North America? I mean, how did you kind of, or do you continue to grow with different strategies as time goes on?
I think there's a mix of things. So I think in this industry, R&D means rip off and duplicate. So that's what I try to do. I try to copy.
R&D
Yes.
is not research and development. It's rip off and duplicate. Oh, in terms of knowledge.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
So I try to learn from the way many American investors are doing this strategy, but then I have to figure out how it can be done in Canada because it isn't really done here. So I'm trying to take that, figure out within our legal system and just culture how to do it in Canada. And part of that too, like agreements and what kind of clauses. My father having come from the commercial real estate background, I learned a lot about clauses that people put in commercial contracts, but you never see in residential contracts. So simple things like when a realtor puts a condition that says, I can view the property 2 more times. My clause says I can view the property from time to time with 24 hours notice. That could be every day if I want.
Yeah.
Now, I don't do that, but I give myself the right within the contract. There's no limit on the number of times when they say, oh, well, your appraiser can't come because that's the 3rd time.
And the reason you do that because someone like Rav who wants to do a flip and does a win-win with Luc, I can now go in and see that property if I
Yes.
want to. And the person can't say no as long as you gave 24 hours notice.
Yes, and you might want to get your contractors through, and then maybe an appraiser, you're going to want to get them through as well.
And what I like about the deals that you've sent me is you're giving me the potential of what I can make. You're giving me the, after repair value. And so I know that, Luc has bought it for such and such, giving it to Rav for such and such. Luc makes his piece, but Rav makes a piece in terms of buying it undervalue rather. And you're also teaching me here's what you can expect because we've done, so-called appraisal. We've kind of see it now. I still should do my own due diligence and make sure. This is really good. So,
and I really like the portion about helping the sellers out of it. I mean, I have one of my favorite text messages I got from a seller that she said, "I thank God you came into our lives and bought our home."
and they met you because of your marketing.
Yes.
and your marketing was done in such a way that didn't make them feel like a charity.
Absolutely. They're getting a service from me, and they're paying for it. And they usually understand they're not getting everything they would on the MLS.
Yes. Let me take this off your hands. So I'm in the business of finding I'm in the business of buying all types of properties, reach out, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Another seller was 13 days from the bank sheriff kicking them out onto the street.
13 days from getting evicted.
Because of power of sale.
Because of power of sale, and you came along and you were
I was able to close
that.
in that time.
Yeah.
And they were able to have money there to move out to the next home.
I do want to say this to you and for those that are watching on TV, online, listening by way of podcast. I really appreciate you sharing this. There's a lot of people that don't understand that even if there's competition, it's a good thing. And we're not minimizing how hard this is, how hard you work at doing this. But thank you for sharing the wholesaling strategy with people and how to do it from Luc's point of view, and if other people want to become Luc's.
Yes.
I don't want to become Luc. I want to become the person that Luc hands the paperwork to, if it makes sense, for me. Okay, so let's come back to a little bit of this, but before we do that, I want to right now look at one case study that you've done. Okay, so what was one of the properties that you acquired? How much was it?
So it was in Burlington, Ontario. I bought it for $440,000.
It was in Burlington, and you bought it for $440,000. Okay, and so when you buy it, we put a deposit down because again, there's no closing costs or anything because you're transferring this over to RAV.
Yes.
So you do have to give a deposit, and then you put in a clause that allows it to be assignable. You tie it up for a period of time. How long do you usually tie this property up for? So it gives the RAV types a chance to purchase it, firm up on it.
So I did buy this one firm.
Oh, you did? Okay.
And if the property's a good enough price that worst comes to worst, I turn around and flip it, I'll buy it firm. If I'm uncertain about it, I'll buy it conditional, usually 10 business days.
10 business days. So that gives enough time for the RAV types to say, I want it.
Yes.
Okay. So you did that. So what was the deposit on this one?
So this one, usually the deposit goes to the seller's lawyer. This one, I gave him a $10 bill cash.
$10?
Yeah.
You gave them a $10 bill?
Yeah.
And that was fine for the seller?
I asked the seller, how much deposit do you want? He said, it doesn't really matter. I'm like, how about $10? Sure.
And so being a lawyer background, did you practice law or no? You just went through all the education, articled.
And then I got called to the bar. Yeah.
To do a transaction in real estate, do we need a monetary amount, even if it's a penny? Do we need something?
Yes.
Okay.
Consideration.
Yeah, because then if you're getting $10, I'm kind of like, why bother? Give them nothing.
Yeah.
But we need a certain amount, even if it's a penny, in order for it to be a real estate transaction. That's in Canada, Ontario, where?
That's pretty much everywhere, though I've heard some of the states in the U.S. are a little bit different, but the majority of North America needs consideration. At my understanding, this is not legal advice.
Okay. And then you sold this property to a RAV type.
Yes.
For how much?
$465.
$465 you sold that. So you bought for $440, you sold it to RAV, you made $25,000.
Yes.
And how long did this take you?
Well, I sold it 2 days after I bought it, and the closing was 30 days after that.
You sold it 2 days after you bought it, so you knew you were making $25,000, but you got it 30 days later because that's when it's closed.
Yes.
Yeah, not too bad. $25,000 in a month.
Yep.
Times 12 months, you're just a cool $300,000. if we were to do one a month, which
Absolutely.
I know you do a lot more. Now, $465 to RAV.
Yes.
If it's worth $465,000, then RAV's not interested.
Yeah.
It wasn't worth $465,000. What was the market value on this property?
Around 500,000 or low fives.
500,000. So you're saying this was, and how do you know that?
That's just based on the comparable sales.
Based on the comparable sales. So this property is worth $500,000. You were helping somebody out. They needed to get out of the situation.
Yep.
You picked it up for $60,000 lower than market value.
Yes.
You enjoyed $25,000 in a month's time. I enjoy $35,000 purchase price, under value. I could sell it. I could flip it. I could renovate and rent it and then refinance and hold the thing. It's a win-win. 3 wins.
Yes.
Seller wins, Luc wins, the RAV type wins.
Exactly. And the RAV type, who bought it from me, was a female RAV type.
Yes.
She flipped this.
Yes.
And she made about $70,000.
She flipped it, and after her rental cost,
Yes.
she made $70,000.
After all of her carrying, financing, realtor commissions, land transfer tax, legal fees, she made $70,000.
And Luc, this is not an anomaly. This is what you do.
Yeah.
This is what you're doing.
Yeah.
This is absolutely fantastic. Assignment is the same thing as wholesaling. 95% of the time, we're passing the paper over. Sometimes, in this case, you actually close on it because it makes...
No, not on this one.
You didn't firm on this one. This one,
No.
you passed the paper.
Yes.
You passed the paper on this one. You were out of pocket a whole $10.
Yeah.
And Canadian or U.S.? The big difference.
It was Canadian.
Yes. And you paid a deposit of $10, and you make $25,000.
Absolutely.
This woman made $35,000 or bought it $35,000 under, and then went renovated, sold it, and made $70,000 or whatever the case was. Listen, I am so grateful that you came on the show, and I have to have you back and continue to see what you're doing. Time is up. Thank you so much for nurturing me, for nurturing our audience. It's just been wonderful having you.
Thanks so much, Rev.
Yes. And thank you for tuning in. Without you, we wouldn't have a show. For more information on this show or any others, or to become an Everyday Investor Insider, where you can get investment opportunities, tips, advice, go to everydayinvestor.com and sign up. Until next week, we'll see you same place, same time. Honey, I love you. I'll be home soon.